Good morning, friends. Today we are going to talk about the topic that strikes fear into the hearts of gardeners. What is that? Pruning. Yes, my friends, pruning is a great thing in the garden. So today we are going to address and hopefully take out all of the fear that you may experience at the thought of pruning your annuals and your perennials in the middle of summer. Of course, we are in North Carolina, a zone 8A, and we have a very long growing season here. And so my annuals, a lot of times they will need to be pruned. Those ones that I plant in the spring and they go all the way through to the fall, midsummer, they need a little haircut. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to address some perennials. So if you have fear of pruning, stay tuned. I'm going to take all of that fear out for you and show you how easy and reassure you that this is going to be a really good thing in your garden. Last night we got some much needed rain. However, it came in the form of a classic summer thunderstorm. Massive, heavy rain, wind, lightning, thunder, you name it, it was happening and it was fierce. Lasted for maybe 30 minutes, got somewhere around 30 minutes with 3 inches of rain. You can see that my Cleomes, they took a hit. I was already kind of contemplating whether that I wanted to prune them because they have gotten really tall and were getting lanky, right? So they were tall, and when I say lanky, meaning that they could easily flop over. Well, guess what? That storm just absolutely confirmed the fact that that is what we need to do. So we are going to prune the Senorita Rosalita Cleome, and we are going to make this bush back out and be thick and gorgeous and tight. Now, I could address the petunias. I'm not going to do that today. That's a whole nother battle tackling area that I just don't honestly want to take on today. So we are only going to focus on the Cleome. What tools do you need? Choose your weapon of choice. You can have just your hand pruners. That absolutely works. If you have a pair of scissors, that works great too. Jackson got me these little electric steel trimmers for birthday, Mother's Day a couple of years ago, and I love it. So that is what I'm going to use. And so that's going to make quick work of the Cleome. When I go to my perennials, I will be using my hand pruners, but you need something to cut. Anywhere from scissors, really honestly, I guess if you had a chainsaw, you could use a chainsaw, my friend. The rain gauge was sitting on the table. That's how much rain we got. Now, this rain gauge is quite old, and so all of my measurements have, like the markings to see how much it is, have worn off. So yeah, there you go. It was sitting right here on the table, and that's how much rain we got. So I am going to grab my pruners, and then I have got my pop-up container. So whatever kind of container you want to put your debris in, or you want to put it on a tarp, whatever you want to do, just something to put it in to make the cleanup a little easier. All right, let's get going. Okay, my friends, before I do this, I can already hear what you're saying. Well, Jenny, they don't need to be pruned. They've got gorgeous flowers. Just prop them up and they will be fine. And you know what? If you want to do that, then that's perfectly fine. I know my garden and I know these plants. We are just halfway through the growing season here in North Carolina. I need to prune them, whether they were flopping over or not, because if I don't prune them, they're going to get crazy out of control. Whenever we prune a plant, it creates compact growth because it encourages branching, right? So they're going to flower again. It's probably going to take them about 2 weeks before they begin flowering again. But when they do, they're going to be a stronger, healthier plant that fit the space in the garden. So what we're going to do is not be like really precise with this pruning. I'm literally going to grab them by the handful and just cut them. Annuals respond beautifully to being pruned. Dare I say, they need to be pruned, especially if you have a super long growing season like I do. Now, if you're in a cooler zone and you have a very short growing season, you probably don't have to prune your annuals. I, however, do. This is why we have to be a student of our own garden. So, without further ado, I'm just going to go in there. It's going to give some of you a heart attack. I promise it'll be okay. I have a big little friend that was hiding underneath. He's trying to escape. Can you see my sweet little toad? He's going to say hello. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply put him in a different part of the garden so that he accidentally does not get cut by the clippers. Got to protect your wildlife, friends. These are good little friends in the garden that we want to have. They take care of the pesky little friends that we don't want. All right, my friends, so the Cleomes, they are pruned. They got the Chelsea chop. You just whack them. I cut them at least back by half, if not more. And side note, this is a freebie for you. This is the time of year where I begin to think about next year's garden because we are in like the height of the garden. Growing season, everything's full, it's big, it's beautiful. And so this is where I start to think about, okay, next year, are there changes that I want to make? And Jerry and I were sitting on the back porch just the other day, and I said, it feels like a jungle out here. It is like driving me crazy between the Cleome, the Supertunia Vista Cool Jazz. Like it's just a lot. And I feel like it just is jungly and kind of chaotic. And this is the first year for those of you that are faithful followers, you know this, that typically I do mini vistas back here. But since we took out the boxwoods, I thought, you know, we could handle a vista. No, I cannot handle vistas in this space. That's why I love mini vistas. You get the same flower power, but they're much more compact. I am fighting everything in me not to pull these petunias out because they are just like, and it's making me like the same way. So time will tell to see how long they stay in here. But that's just something that I am thinking about for next year. I am making notes. I keep an on my phone in the notes app. I have a folder already. It's 2027 garden plans. And I will go through there and just brain dump. When I think about something, I put it in there. So it's just something for you to think about because this is a great time to make adjustments. Do we need to move a plant? Do you need to do this or do that? Or you really love this plant, you wanted to plant it again, or you don't like this plant, so don't buy that one again. Those kinds of things. All right, I've got a mess. I am going to clean up. And then step 2, we got to fertilize. We chopped them. Now we're going to feed them. All right, my friends, so got everything cleaned up as best I could. Somebody's got the battery for the blower, so I can't do that. We'll take care of that later. as a little side note, my friends, the pollinators, the bumblebees, the honeybees, they love Cleome. They were buzzing all around. No fret, my pet. They're going to move on. I got plenty of other flowers for them to eat from. The reason I'm telling you this is when you're cleaning up and you gather all the debris in your arms, maybe not do that. Because I got caught, a bumblebee got caught between me and the debris. And yeah, it was fearing for its life. Let's just say that. So that is the first time I have ever been stung by a bumblebee in all of my years of gardening. And I've been stung by a honeybee one time. So we're doing pretty good. Remember, pollinators are our friend. They are not bad, harmful, mean insects. They are our friend. Felt threatened, so she was defending her life on my arm. Now, after you prune your annuals, so after you prune your annuals, we've just come out of an extended heat wave. We just got some good rain. We need to feed our annuals. So food equals flowers. And it may sound counterintuitive. You're like, well, Jenny, your plants were flowering. They were really big and you just cut them. So why do you want to feed them to make them get bigger again? Well, because I want them to regenerate that growth, get nice and strong and sturdy, and give me flowers. So I'm going to do it twofold. Because my growing season is so long, it is time for me to reapply my slow release fertilizer. This is the Proven Winners time released. I applied it when we planted them back in the spring. It is released by temperature. It's been hotter than blue blazes, my friends. So now's the time to go ahead and reapply it. As my mama calls it, it's the shake and bake. So it has a great little, like a Parmesan cheese can, right? So we're just gonna sprinkle that. This is going to, every time it rains, I water, this is going to release and feed the plants because Cleomes are not heavy feeders. So while I am going to apply my slow release, I'm also going to go ahead and use my water-soluble fertilizer. This will probably be about the last time I use water-soluble fertilizer on these guys for this season because they're not strong, heavy feeders like a petunia is. I have lots of compost, really great organic material in this bed. My time release is going to help me out. But today we're going to go ahead and give it a shot of the water soluble. A lot of people will have questions about this. Y'all, it's super simple. You open it up and there are going to be 2 bags in here and then there is a scoop. 1 scoop of fertilizer per 1 gallon of water. Since I have a good number of Cleome, what I do is I have my 5-gallon bucket. So I do 5 scoops, fill up my bucket with water, and then I actually take these containers out, like the bags out, and I use the bucket as my scoop and my pourer. You absolutely can use your watering can, whatever. Just know 1 scoop per gallon, and then just water as normal. The reason that we're doing this now is because the plants have been under a lot of stress with the heat, and so they need some food. Why do we do it after a rain? Because the ground is well saturated. So this fertilizer is not going to run out. I know it sounds weird to put more water after they've been well watered, but don't think of it as water, think of it as food. It's going to stay right there with the roots and they're going to be able to absorb it. That's what we're going to do really quick. And then we're going to move to some perennials. I'm trying to beat the sun. It ain't working. I'm glistening like crazy out here. All right, my friends, moving on to the perennials. Now we're going to keep this very short and sweet because as you can see, the sun has hit the bed and it is hot and sticky. It is sticky. It's about like 10:30 in the morning, and let me tell you, I'm already drenched and ready for a shower. I digress. Perennials. Now, there's a couple of reasons that you may want to go ahead and prune your perennials in mid-summer. 1, I was talking with Mimi this morning, and of course you know that her garden is dry shade. Not 1 ounce of irrigation. If it gets water, it's from the rain or it is because she watered it. She could only water so much during the heat dome, and a lot of her perennials were struggling. Talking with her, she is chopping them. So what we're doing, and again, the reason that we are pruning the annuals and the perennials are a little bit different in the fact of we want them to put all of that energy in their root system so that they can come back either later in the fall, this summer, definitely next spring, and be really strong and healthy. If you have a perennial that is really struggling because of the heat and the drought, and you don't prune it, then that plant is sending all the energy, trying to send energy up into the foliage to keep it alive. When we cut off the foliage, it reduces the stress on the plant, and that energy is going into the roots. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get new growth. It's gonna flush out. I have a perfect example to show you with a fern. It was struggling, it was looking rough. I cut it to the ground, and look at it now. While it's not, you know, a huge like magazine worthy fern, you can definitely see all of that beautiful foliage that has come out. When I tell you I chopped it to the ground, I mean literally it was a nub, and all of this flushed back out relatively. I mean, within the next week, I had new foliage popping out like crazy. So do not be afraid to prune those perennials that are struggling. Case in point is my phlox. This is a paniculata phlox, and you can see, oh my gosh, it did bloom. It was beautiful. You have all those little old flower heads, but then look, right? So we have got just brown. It is just yucky. It is an eyesore here in the garden. What I'm going to do is I am going to chop it all the way down to the ground, my friend. It is not going to bloom again. It only blooms once a season, but I guarantee you it is going to flush back out with beautiful green foliage, be a nice little green mound, help the plant get all that energy back into the roots. And then we have my Stokes asters. Now, the Stokes asters, oh my gosh, y'all, that is the green stuff that is absolutely laying on top of the coreopsis and my firelight tidbit. These were beautiful. They bloomed. This was riptide. I can tell because we have that beautiful blue flower. So this is a perfect example. All of the foliage to the right, all that tall foliage needs to come off the plant. Once we cut it all back off the plant, you can see what happened is the plant sent out new growth. So we got new growth, new flowers. You can see next door, we've got new growth. We have got some buds. So we're going to go ahead and take off, just chop it, my friends. These long stems, we're going to cut them all the way back down to the ground. Side note, Gumfrina. Someone's been munching on my Gumfrina. I'll give you a guess who. Peter, Flopsy, and Mopsy. There you go, my friends. The phlox, you can see how much I just cut it to the ground. At the max, it's probably 6 inches tall. I have no doubt it will flush back out with beautiful new green growth and be nice and strong for next year. And then the Stokes asters. So here you go. I had 3 clumps together and just pruned them back. They are going to flush out. In fact, I see more new foliage coming up right in here. So this guy right here, all that is new. They too are going to flush back out. Stokes asters tend to be a little bit of repeat bloomers, so I have a confidence that we will get more flowers. So you can see next door is the Nectar Ninja, and I went ahead and cut it off about halfway up the plant because it had bloomed and the blooms were done. So just go ahead and cut it back, let it rejuvenate, and there you go. We'll see if it blooms again. And then I just trimmed up the coreopsis that was being squished by the Stokes asters. Just basically took off maybe the top fourth of it. The coreopsis absolutely will flush back out and rebloom because it is a continuous bloomer once it starts. But did I do everything in this garden? Did I prune all of the perennials? No, I did not. Why? Let me tell you. I'm going to join Brenna up here in the shade. So the reason that I did not prune the perennials in the cottage garden is a very simple fact. It's hot, y'all. Here we are going into mid-July in North Carolina. Are the temperatures crazy? No, they're not. This is normal summer for us, but I don't know if you can tell, but I am absolutely drenched. Like it is very unattractive. I have sweat all over me. And I have made myself a promise earlier in the season that I was not going to kill myself out in the garden. You know what? Those perennials will be here tomorrow morning first thing when the sun has yet to hit it, and I can take care of them then. And honestly, if I were not filming a video to help with education, then I absolutely would have stopped after doing the Cleome. But because I wanted to show you that also how we can prune our perennials, that's why I kept going. Not to say that because, yeah, yay, Jenny, for suffering for the video. No, I just want you to understand, and set realistic expectations for yourselves, being very transparent with you, and to say if you get one plant done or you get one section done, and it is the middle of the summer and the hot, hot part of going into the day in the full sun, do not kill yourself out there, y'all. Gardening should be fun. It should not be exhausting all the time and where you sweat your entire body weight off, right? So take your time, pace yourself, do what you can, do what the weather allows, do what your body allows. The garden will be there tomorrow in the cooler parts of the day, or even in the afternoon, like an evening if you like to work in your garden then. So hopefully this has taken out some of the fear of pruning. I fully understand why it is a kind of a scary, trepidatious thing to prune your plants, because you don't want to kill them. You don't want to hurt them. Y'all, pruning is one of the best things you can do for your plants, whether they're annuals, perennials, shrubs, trees, at all points in their life cycle. I guarantee most of them need to be pruned, right? So a little bit of knowledge. Hopefully you have gained that and some confidence today with this video. That is my goal. Y'all have an amazing day. I'm going to go in and take a cold shower, head to the grocery store because I got to feed my people. Y'all have an amazing day. See you in the next video. Bye, friends.